You mentioned the gap theory. We actually had a question specifically about that. So can you give a really brief synopsis of what the gap theory is?
Well, very briefly, the gap theory has usually held that between Genesis 1:1 and 1:2, there's a gap. In Genesis 1:1, it says, and the earth was, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And then in verse 2, it says, and the earth was, or the earth became, tohu wa bohu, which means formless and void, or something of the sort like that. And the gap theory, and there's some variations on it, but basically they hold that verse 2 denotes a state of chaos that was not original to creation. Tohu and bohu are words that are almost always pejorative. They denote a negative state of affairs. And the only other two times they're used together in the Bible, tohu wa bohu, it denotes a state of judgment. And so the gap theory holds that God created the world, it was all good, wonderful, but then, even before human beings came around, there was some kind of conflict that went on, perhaps in the heavenlies. Something went wrong, and the earth was judged, and that was the state of tohu wa bohu. So what you get from verse 2 on in Genesis 1 is not the original creation of the earth. And by the way, the word earth, eretz in Hebrew, doesn't denote a planet. They didn't know about a planet. It just denotes the land. And that's important for other considerations that we can't go into right now. But so what you have is a restoration of the land, and God reformulating the creation. Only other point I'd make is this. Genesis 1 isn't the only creation account in the Bible. In God at War, I outlined 13 other passages that the majority of scholars believe have to do with creation. And all of them involve conflict, what's called the chaos motif of the Old Testament, where God battles the waters or the cosmic monsters to create. And what hardly anyone is wondering about is, how do we reconcile those conflict creation accounts with the Genesis account? Well, one plausible way is to take them all, and they're right up there between verse 1 and verse 2. So that's just...
Greg's far too humble to ever say this, but probably God at War in his chapter on this is the currently most plausible, sophisticated articulation of the gap theory available today. And I'm not one to easily compliment Greg. Right?
Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
Well, thank you, Paul. I appreciate that. The thing is I don't believe half of that myself anymore. I've modified it, so just know that.